Hello everyone, this is Endgamer with another unboxing and an offline product game review. This is Dredge for the PlayStation 4, but being played and tested on my PlayStation 5. To jump right into it, this physical copy here just says it's a base vanilla version of the game, so the on-disc version is 1.0. Now sadly there was an update available. This update size was 640 megabytes big and will take you to version 1.02 since the time making this video. Now like always, I play all my games completely offline with an unregistered account, and I didn't experience any hiccups or problems throughout the entirety of this game. Now please keep in mind, bugs can be fickle, where somebody can go through the entire game and experience no bugs, while another person can go through the exact same thing and experience every bug the game has to offer. Why I say this is that this update is almost the same size as the game that's on the disc, with around 800 megabytes from installing on the game's disc. So, and all they said was that it's bug fixes and alterations to the world. I don't know what they could be possibly fixing or altering, and I didn't experience any issues, but I just want to let you know that while I didn't experience any problems, I can't give no guarantees that you will have the exact same experience. But like I said, I do play all my games with an unregistered account, and I was still unlocking trophies throughout the entire game, which is extremely nice to see. Now, if you don't know, Dredge is kind of like a cosmic relaxation horror-esque. I'm going to be very vague on the on the whole horror aspect, but it's more of a cosmetic, psychological kind of horror kind of style game. But it's more of a relaxation game. Think of something along the lines of Journey or Abuzu, where you're more just along with the journey, but it's a little bit more involved in those games, where you are a fisherman, you go fishing, you gather up fishes and other supplies as well as relics, and then you sell off these items and stuff like that, and slowly work up to upgrade your boat, and as well as progress through the story and do some minor side quests and little stuff like that. So it's a little bit more involved than like a Journey or a Abuzu, but it's what I'm trying to get at is that it's more of a relaxation game. Don't stress that thinking this game is going to be super challenging or it's going to have big engaging mechanics in them. But as I said, the main point is to gather up fishes, and you'll slowly be able to sell those fishes later on in the game, and as well as later on you will be able to upgrade your ship by adding extra inventory space, upgrading your engine, upgrading your fishing equipment that allow you to fish specific fishes like in the ocean or the abyss or among other places, as well as that mean you'll be able to fish quicker and have lights and stuff like that. So there's a multitude of new assessments you can do with your ship. As well, like I said, you get side quests, you can interact with the characters and do special events, and they will give you a special item and or money or and so forth. And if you're a fan of, like, let's say Resident Evil 4's like inventory system, where you had like an item and you try to do kind of a Tetris effect where you're trying to put it all within these items puzzle system, you're gonna really love Dredge, because that's how it basically works. Its inventory, you gather a particular fish, and this fish takes up the specific kind of inventory space, and you try to mix and match to get it all fit inside your ship. It's always a ton of fun. I really love Resident Evil 4's inventory system style, and I love how this game implemented it as a kind of a main inventory management puzzle-esque style game. So really cool on that. But as I said, the game's a bit of a cosmic horror kind of psychological aspect, where you get, as a beginning, you start as a fisherman, and you start realizing that things are not all right around here, that certain characters are a little odd. You start gathering up certain fishes that has some kind of cosmetic horror to them, like they're tainted or corrupted, and some the guard, and you start doing side quests that are very questionable and the contents you're shipping and doing, and it's very intriguing, but nothing that's like boo big scares and big attention in the air. It's more just like something doesn't feel right, something's not right around here, these people are very odd kind of style. And so the beginning of the game can be extremely slow and everything, but eventually when you start upgrading your engine, and you're going to be zooming across the oceans. But I want to start pointing out some of the flaws in the game. Now, please keep in mind, even though these flaws are, I think, a big deal, that doesn't mean they're game breaking. Now, it doesn't mean that I think the game is bad because it's got these flaws, but just in case they make a sequel, or just maybe alterations they can do, any ideas, it's just throwing out it on the ballpark. The first thing is you're going to notice no voice acting. Well, I've played many games with no voice acting, and I'm not saying there's anything problem with reading. I feel like voice acting could have added a lot to this game. And I don't mean normal voice acting. I'm not talking about like every character has a voice dialogue. I think you could have probably done something more of like a narration, where somebody like reading a book or something like that. Instead of like having to pay for all these voice actors to do all these voices and stuff like that, have like a voice acting along the lines of like, the fisherman arrived in this a mysterious village, and the mayor approached him with eager smile. As you move up there, you feel that something is not exactly on the normal here, and then you realize that maybe there's more to the story of this town than you realize. Something like that, where you get like a book narration, and something like an H.P. Lovecraft kind of style. This is just me, just with my opinions on that. If you disagree, that's perfectly fine. I feel like the game could have something of those regards. Now, this is more of a gripe. There is a side quest in the game where these hooded figures will request you to gather a Pacific fish, and you may need a Pacific equipment to get that fish. There can be a bit of an issue with that, but they don't really tell you that these characters will die if you take too long, and there's no information about that, no warning about that. You just come back with the fish and they're dead because you had no idea you took too long. And some of these fishes they may request require special equipment you don't have at that time, and you don't even know how to get it at that time. So it is really disappointing that they implemented that, where it's very punishing without you even knowing about it. So in the future advice, if you pick up the game and you come across these hooded figures, there's multiple colors like yellow, purple, I think blue and stuff. They don't approach them until you at least pretty much have all the fishing equipment abilities available, just so you don't miss out on a chance of an upgrade to your ship or boat or whatever, just simply because you didn't realize that you need abyss fishing and you don't even know where this fish is located. So that's a bit of a problem in that. Building your boat. While it's cool to upgrade your boat and getting special equipment, like eventually more engine space, more fishing space, more lights and stuff like that, I wish there was a little bit more customization, like the color of my ship, the look of my ship, and actually where do I place these blocks? Like, where do I want to put this engine piece? I don't mind to have to be at a set position behind the boat. They can't have like the engine in front of the boat, but specific areas where I can pinpoint where I want the engine pieces. That way you can do a little bit more customization, a little bit more felt like it's your boat. As well as that progression in the game. While the progression is fast, you'd be surprised how quickly you can just get. At the beginning it's slow, but at the beginning you eventually just start getting massive amounts of money and upgrade your ship really fast. And that's also a problem, is that it ends. And once it ends, your money becomes quite useless. Once you've maxed out your ship, there's not a lot of reasons to invest more money and stuff like that, which I get it. There's got to be an end point, but that's what I was talking about with the customization, where you can change the color, change the look, or change specific locations where you can place the engines and your fishing point. You can do a lot more customization, and every time you move a piece, alter a piece, that can cost money. That way there's constantly flow of money and use of money. And as well, as I said, the game is pretty easy. I only died like once or twice in the game, and most of that was just me experimenting or just playing around. And there's no real super challenge. As I said, the game is more relaxation, trying to solve the mystery. Just go out there, gather up fishes, and sell, so on and so forth, back and rinse and repeat. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I don't know, kind of wish there was maybe a little bit more challenge, a little bit more reuse of resources, like maybe throw a barrel of bomb or something like that to scare away a Pacific monster or giant fish or something like that. Something that at least keep the player immersed, and that's something you could probably work on supplies-wise, where you have to constantly keep like barrels of explosives on the side of the ship or something like that, and you had to constantly buy that equipment. Or like fuel, you had to slowly invest your money into fuel in your ship. Stuff like that can keep the flow of the system and engaging, but maybe that wasn't the overall core idea of what they wanted. They wanted a more relaxation experience where you don't have to stress about a big monster attacking you and just immediately swallowing you up, or you ran out of fuel out in the middle of the ocean. I get that and I respect that, but that's why we have difficulties. That's why we have do you want a more relaxed experience where it's all about difficulty about the story, or do you want more of a challenge in managing your resources? That's why we have those kinds of things. That's why we call them accessibility features, for people who may want a challenging experience and those who may just want a more streamlined story experience, which is nothing wrong with either one of those. In the end, I really enjoyed the game. The only problem is that the ending of the game is pretty quick and really abrupt. It ends instantly. And I got both the endings in the game. My personal opinion is the bad ending. I love that ending, but I am a cosmic horror fan, so that's right up my alley. And it was enjoyment. It was a little treat of a game. The open world ocean part of the game really didn't bug me too much. It did get a little tedious, but thankfully the boat is really fast once you start upgrading that engine, so you get across across the oceans, no problem. And it wasn't really an issue. And most times I just stopped and fished. So it kept me involved. I felt like I was constantly doing something and constantly investing in something. So I really enjoyed this game. This is definitely a neat little game you can have on your shelf. And I can see people down the road, like 10, maybe 15, maybe 20 years, people are going to be like, remember this weird boat game we played on the Switch or the PS4 where you just go around fishing and something wasn't right and you gather up corrupted fish? I could totally see people talking about that. That's if the game doesn't get a sequel. The game has been doing very well. I've heard a lot of positive reviews and opinions of the game, so I'm really glad for these indie developers really getting really out there and showing what they can do and how they can produce a game. The game works perfectly fine offline with no issues for me anyway. A lot of these indie developers have really just been blowing the water out of the AAA department, and that's why I've just been loving this generation so much. I've been loving these little indie games. Yeah, they maybe not hundreds and hundreds of hours of content, but this sweet, enjoyable experience, unique experience, is more memorable to me than some big budget AAA game with the same generic mechanics and story design. And again, having to download 40 to 80 gigabytes of update fixes to a game that should already be done made. So in the end, this was a really good pickup for me, in my opinion. It's well worth it. The redeem code is free to use for anybody. It's a one-time use. Now you can go in and have it. I'm not entirely sure what it does or what it offers. I just know where it needs to be used is the Black Isle Island Workshop. It's locked. If you don't redeem that code, you'll get a key and you can unlock it. So I don't know what it has or what's in it. I don't really care because it didn't affect my experience of the game. But overall, enjoyable. You can have the redeem code, first come, first serve. Just remember it's US only for PSN accounts. And overall, it was an enjoyable experience. It may not be for everyone. It's definitely a different style game, and I really appreciate that. I love the graphics, I love the immersion, I love the style, and just the overall cosmic horror. I love cosmic horror. So again, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you just enjoyed this video. This game was actually definitely a delight for me. I really enjoyed the relaxation of this game. So in the end, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next unboxing video. Bye bye.